What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Keys of Currency, where we interview high-level entrepreneurs doing high-level things. Today, I had another special guest. I had Mr. Noah Hoffman. He came onto the show and he talked about how he is killing it in the Airbnb world, how he got started in real estate, but most importantly, he talked about how he had to overcome some obstacles in his life. It was a very powerful conversation. Hope you guys get a lot of value. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, comment. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. Noah Hoffman, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you for inviting me.
Yes, man. I'm excited to have this conversation. So first thing I want to ask you, bro, is what got you into real estate?
Well, I think even before real estate, it was, I always was into entrepreneurship and business ownership and dreamt about it, thought about it. I'd never fit in. I'm like a square peg in a round hole or whatever, didn't got in trouble in school as a kid, stuff like that. And at some point, I just knew real estate numbers were big and, but that's not enough to learn about it. So My first real estate mentor, I met him when I was about 20. And he just had me running errands for him, just helping him out. He became a friend, but he needed contractors and plumbers. There was nothing I could really do for him. But eventually, he had a vacant studio, and I said, "Hey, why don't you let me put this on Airbnb for you and manage it?" And he said, "Okay." So that was kind of the start. Was managing property for other people.
Gotcha. Was that your first taste of entrepreneurship? Was getting real estate, or were you?
I had other businesses. I've also had a carpet cleaning business.
Okay.
And which I struggled at. I wasn't good at the upsells.
Gotcha.
I had also a junk hauling business, which I loved. So I just had a pickup truck, and a friend of mine made flyers. I started putting them up. This was before Craigslist, and people would just call me. It was there was a real estate boom in the San Francisco Bay Area. People would just, they're doing remodels, they're throwing away furniture. They would just call me, pay me, and I was I would average $100 an hour hauling garbage from people's house. So I didn't need a regular job. That was lovely for me. I loved it.
So what happened with the junk haul business? How did you go from that to getting into real estate?
Because that was kind of like a lifestyle business. I never really focused on growing it big in a serious way. There was a point when me and my partner, we bought a dump truck. I had, three of my other friends started, they started their own hauling businesses, got trucks, and, some of them had dump trucks. And eventually, I always wanted something more, though. I kind of looked down on it, I know this is not all that there is out there. So I went to college. And so I was doing a community college thing, hauling at the same time, and then I transferred to a 4-year college, and I just wasn't excited about anything, and I did a study abroad program away. I went to London for 1 quarter, then I went to Japan for a year. Okay. And I had to walk away, and that was this was actually one key part of business, was one of my partners. So he was more like a helper, a friend of mine who was helping me do the junk hauling. I said, "Here, I'll let you take my truck and take my pager." At that time, it was a pager, right? And
what year was this?
This was. Hold on, or was it a phone? This was 2000. It was 2000. No, it was 2000.
2000.
Yeah, because I was in Europe in September 11, 2001, when the Twin Towers got hit. I was in Europe,
Gotcha.
Right? So at that point in time, I think I had a pager. Or was it a cell phone? I can't remember, to be honest. No, because the first iPhone came out when my son was born in 2008.
Gotcha.
Yeah, first iPhone was in 2008. So I think I gave him my pager, right? And that came over from my previous life, which I don't talk about in all my interviews. We can get into that on another time. But I was just happy to be free. You know what I'm saying? To be alive, because I had a troubled youth, growing up.
Gotcha.
And was getting arrested, selling drugs, things like that.
Okay.
And all my friends were. So I was happy to be free, to be alive, and to live a legal life. I learned my lesson. So
I want to touch on that a little bit, man. I know you're saying talk about it a separate time, but there's people out there that also have past like that, and they want to get right on the right path, change their lives.
Yeah.
you're somebody that I've been watching from a distance. You're making an impact. You're doing some really good things in the real estate world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to touch on how you pretty much went to making, I guess you could say, dirty money, right? Doing the wrong things, and you've transitioned into making nice, clean money, and you've changed your life around to where you can dodge the pin. We don't have to worry about going to jail.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, I mean, and honestly, this is the first time I've talked about it. Like as far as like on a camera, you know. Okay. I've talked to people one-on-one, but like, and it was really things were like I first got arrested when I was 12 years old, right? Like breaking into a restaurant, you know, with my friends, just didn't have a lot of home structure, you know, and I started getting arrested for selling hard drugs at 14, 15 years old, 16, 17, 18. I had an older friend, and he would go to jail, county jail, so often. I said, why do you go to jail so much? It was just like dawned on me to ask him. He was like, wait till you turn 18, you will too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just normal, you know? And but then things started heating up as I was getting closer to 18. And so some of my friends were getting 5 years, 7 years, 8 years in prison. So I was like, this is not gonna work for me, you know? And then I got arrested, and it was some close calls, you know? Like, you know, so like I was, you know, fortunate enough to be able to go into a drug program. Okay. You know, it was like a diversion program where my attorney was able to work a deal with the court, let him go to a drug program for 1 year and, you know, and have a 5-year suspended sentence. So it means if I like violate probation, then I will go do 3 years or whatever it was in prison. And, and so, you know, like that program, it was a live-in program. You know, every day you have to they have a clothing and shaving inspection. You have to tuck your pants in, put on a suit and a shirt and tie, tuck your beds in, you know, all this stuff, like, and do chores in the house. And it was like, it's called, behavior therapy. So like hardcore, like therapy groups all day, every day. It was like a real rigorous program for a good brainwashing, which I needed, you know? Yeah. And because I was like 18, I seen my friends kind of going down the tubes at the same time. I was like, it's time for a change for me. And I just like, and I just went with it. And it's like, and if things wouldn't have went well for me, I probably would have went back to other options, you know? But like things just worked out, you know? Like, and that first real estate mentor, I was in the program selling raffle tickets. They would put us on the street to sell raffle tickets and stuff like that. And like he bought one, and he was also in an alcohol recovery program, you know, his experience from years before. And so that's how we connected, you know? And so right now today, he's still my biggest private money lender, you know? Gotcha. And, you know, but so, yeah, so I just, you know, I just made a decision and, you know, and like I was blessed with like, also, it's interesting, but I was blessed with not being a good employee. I wasn't a good employee. I was trying to get jobs, and I've been fired a few times because like I wasn't good at like, you know, looking busy. Like I had some jobs before, like I even got a job in a real estate broker's office when I was 20. So I was clean and sober, going to, you know, community college. And I still didn't like the job, and I quit to do my junk hauling because like at that time he was paying me $7.50 an hour, and it was like I'm like taking his dry cleaners to the, you know, his clothes to the dry cleaners, doing errands, and it was, you know, eventually it was going to get my real estate license, but it felt too slow for me. Yeah. I can go make $100 an hour hauling junk, so let me do that, and I quit, and you know, years later I'm back in real estate, but so that was it. It was just a decision, and then I got lucky because I wasn't a good employee. I didn't like those slow hourly job pay type situations. So I was lucky to find junk hauling. You know, it was close. It was like you put up flyers. People just would call me. I just was blessed. People would call me, hey, can you come haul this couch away for $50? Whatever. And you know, when you're driving by yourself, you're hanging out, you with your friends. It was kind of free, you know. Yeah. It wasn't like rigid. You don't have to tuck in your shirt, you know. So it was cool, and I liked it and did that. But then I knew there was more. So, and like, I just kind of was like, I wasn't close with any friends at the time. I kind of, you know, and so I was like, I did this study. So I had a girlfriend from Japan, right, in college. And then so I decided, okay, I'm going to do a study abroad in Japan. And I went over to Japan for a year. And, you know, we ended up breaking up before I went over there. But eventually, and then I finished school. Oh, and by the way, if you rewind a little bit, in high school, I used to cut like whole semesters, you know. Like I got like all Fs, you know, straight Fs, you know, for couple years probably, off and on. So I wasn't even thinking about school, I didn't know what an SAT meant until like years later. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when I went to the program, they put us into like a adult school. So I got my GED and then I got my diploma from Berkeley Adult School, and then the counselor at the program said, Noah, your writing looks like crap. You need to take a writing class at the community college. So that was my first reason I went to community college. And it was kind of fun for me. It's better than sitting in the program. And I got an A in my class. And so that inspired me to go to take more classes. Yeah. And then I ended up staying to get my bachelor's degree, I went to Japan, and then I went back to teach English because I found out it's easier to get a job and teach English in Japan. You just got to talk. That's all you got to do.
So while you going in that program when you were getting in trouble, right? You mentioned they were making you put on a tie and make your bed, all that stuff, right? Would you say that was that pivotal moment, including seeing your friends, go off, get 5, 7, 8 years in jail? Was that the wake up call for you?
It was, and also because it was time for me to start going to the big boy, big house, Yeah. And I just didn't want to. I was I seen enough, Yeah. in juvenile hall or in county jail, city jail. I didn't want to make that next transition to state prison.
So, and I'm thinking of the youth here because I know there's probably a young man or young lady right now that's listening to this, right? They're hearing your story and they're like, man, I'm in that place. I'm in the wrong environment. I need to get out of this so I can see the trajectory of where my life's going to be, right? What do you think is the big issues for why people go down that wrong path? Is it the environment? What is it?
100%. I mean, the environment, and also the way you were raised. My mom is a good woman. She was always a positive influence. She didn't teach me anything about business or money. She wasn't good at business or money. But she taught me empathy and values, and so she had some older male friends around who would tell me right from wrong. And even though I wouldn't listen to them at the time, I remembered. So it's it's people who are listening who they might still make some bad decisions, but they'll remember. And then when they get hit on the hand again, hopefully it doesn't finish them, and then eventually they'll say, okay, it's time for a change, and then slowly getting rid of those bad influences. Yeah. Like Carl Allen said, the things that you ignore will die. So you have to ignore those bad friends, those bad influences. Don't pick up their call. Stay away from them as much as you can, because
So, how do we get to the point where we're at today, bro? Because you've been teaming up with people like Munif, and you guys have been taking down properties nationwide. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys got a pretty impressive portfolio of houses, and you're known as the Airbnb guy. So take me through the journey of how you told me how you got started in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. How do we get to the point where we're at today?
So I was managing for that first guy, his unit, and then I started managing more because it did well. They did well, right? All I did is upload the photos, and then guests start coming, and I just have to be there to take their calls. Just have to be present, and I just tried my hardest, and then he started saying, "Oh, my brother has a unit. Can you manage his?" And then other people start saying, "Hey, can you manage mine?" I started managing people's, and then it took me 5 years to buy my first property. I didn't know how to buy properties. He didn't know how to teach me. That first mentor, he didn't know how to bring himself down to a beginner level. He was way ahead. He didn't know how to teach me, but I was able to learn other things from him. And then other friends said, "Dude, you can get an FHA, get a duplex, 3.5% down. Or you're not allowed to borrow the down payment, but you can have someone write you a gift letter, and then you can borrow the down payment, Oh, wow. And so I got my first duplex with the FHA loan, and then a year later, I got my second property, but it was I knew something was wrong with the Bay Area. Prices are too high. You don't make that much money, even with the Airbnb. So I drove 3 hours south to Fresno, California, because they have out-of-state prices, but it's in California. I can drive there if I really need to. So I bought my second property there. a year, and then I built an ADU. I started learning about that because labor was cheaper there too. I was able to.
What's an ADU for the audience?
Accessory dwelling unit. Like you take a detached garage and you turn it into a little studio or 1-bedroom home.
Okay.
You find some, I went through like finding people that can help me. The first people wanted too much money. I found the right people to help me do it for real low cost. Then a year later, I bought my next home or next house and built 2 ADUs. And I thought like I figured everything out. I just buy a house a year and I'll be good. And then I was like, but I know there's more out there. So, I heard about this wholesale thing. Let me look it up. I went to a meetup in Fresno, California. And this guy named Stratton Brown, he said, he taught me about wholesaling. So I started to try to do it. I wasn't really good at negotiating and calling sellers. I didn't really make enough progress myself. But then he said, look up Pace Morby. I looked him up, followed him. And then I joined Sub 2 right before Pace came to town, right? He was traveling. And I joined, and then he got on a Zoom with us. Like the day before he came to town, he got on a Zoom with NorCal Group and said, oh, by the way, when I come to town, the day after our meetup, I'm gonna need an office with a whiteboard. If anyone has an office, let me know. And so I said, oh, damn, I just bought this dope-ass whiteboard. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can put something together. Yeah. And then and my friend, that first real estate mentor, had this big vacant house. And I didn't have an office, but I took the whiteboard to his house, put it on the fireplace mantle, and put some chairs out and took a picture of it. So the next day at the meetup, when Pace was like, does anyone have a whiteboard in the office? I said, here, look at this. I got a big whiteboard at my spot in Berkeley. He was like, okay, well, let's meet up there tomorrow. Yeah. So he came the next day, and it was just like 5 more people came. So it was a small group, and we were just there, and he was doing a Zoom with other people. And then he heard me talking about Airbnb to some other guys, and he was like, hey, you want to put one of my properties on Airbnb and see how it does? I was like, hell yeah.
So you were already doing Airbnb before you met Pace?
Yeah. So I had been doing it for, for 7-8 years.
Oh, wow.
And I had already been managing properties in remote management in Vegas. Gotcha. Pace was like, my property's in Vegas. Can you do it? So I had already been through that. I had already been like a few years before, I was like, no, I can't manage in Vegas. It's too far. And then he was like, my other friend was like, just try. We got a nephew on the ground. He can help. I was like, all right. And it just went surprisingly well. Like house cleaners, handyman came through, and the house just went smooth. And so I got lucky again. And but then I ended up managing 2, 3, 4 units in Vegas. So when Pace asked me, can you manage my house in Vegas on Airbnb? I was like, absolutely. I said, I'll be down there the day after tomorrow.
Did you kind of like teach Pace about Airbnb, or
I didn't teach him, but what he said is, he says like, he was like, he wasn't feeling Airbnb, and then I convinced him to try it again,
So let's talk about that, man. Why Airbnb? Why not just do like a long-term rental with your properties, or, mid-term rental? There's different exit strategies we can utilize with houses. Right. What made you choose the Airbnb route?
It was just the route that I wound up in. So, because like my first real estate mentor, he had long-term rentals. He even had management in place. But he had his own other building that wasn't with the management, and he had this vacant studio. He didn't really know what to do. I said, let's try it. I tried it. And so it's like putting like a booster in your long-term rental. So yeah, if you want to retire, you can put all your properties on long-term rental, set it and forget it with management, but if you're trying to make extra money, you're gonna have to do a little extra work, spend a little extra money furnishing it, managing it, but you'll make more money. So it depends. Do you need more money or more freedom, So that's how I make extra money. Now I have long-term rentals too. Right. Like if for some reason they didn't work out, like I bought properties that already had Section 8 tenants. I just left them in. As they slowly move out on their own, then I'll turn them over into Airbnbs.
Can we Airbnb any property, any location, or does Airbnb only fit certain types of properties in certain locations?
Right. So that's a great question, and I tell people, the first thing when I talk about Airbnb is you have to open your mind up, because you have to know on Airbnb you can rent a tent in your backyard for $10 a night. People do that.
A
tent. Yeah, you can put out a tent on Airbnb. You can put a tree house. Like literally, people think it's funny, but people actually, you can rent bedroom by bedroom on Airbnb. Everybody knows that. You can do a castle, $10,000, $20,000 a night. It has everything. Now, what you do want to keep in mind is some places you might not make money. You might not make enough money. You know, and then nowadays the regulation, it's like playing it's a cat and mouse game with regulations and HOAs. Yeah. So you have to know you're in a minefield. So now you have to be more careful. So, you know, every year I learn more, I get more experience. Like I told you earlier, I'm not buying as many houses sight unseen. If I buy a house sight unseen, then I better have some margin for error, because you might need a roof tomorrow. You might need an HVAC tomorrow. You might need a water heater next week, you know, and these things can add up to 10, 20% of the value, you know.
So what have you seen in comparison to like a single family? So let's say I get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath out here. We're in Tampa, Florida right now, right, for this business mastermind. Let's say I got a 3-2 out here in Tampa, and I'm just going to rent it out for $2,000 a month as a long-term rental. What have you noticed is the difference in money potential between doing a long-term rental and an Airbnb as far as profit margins?
Yeah. So honestly, a lot of times, if you're willing to manage it yourself, right, that's a key. Maybe you make 50% more. That's just rough ball back of a napkin, you know. Yeah. But if you want to hire a management company, a lot of people, they think Airbnb is free money. Airbnb is free money. It's easy money. It's not free and it's not easy. Right. And if you pay a management company a traditional 20, 25%, you might make the same as you would have made on long-term rental. You might make less because you have the maintenance fluctuates more. Guests they don't know how to work your window. They might break things more frequently, and your expenses are higher because they need it fixed same day. Your refrigerator's out. You don't have a week to order one. You need to go pick one up, even if it's more expensive, you know, or else you're paying refunds.
Well, what's the biggest cost when it comes to running an Airbnb?
I used to tell people the hidden cost to Airbnbs are refund requests.
Oh wow.
Yeah. People. I saw hair on my bed. I want half my money back. You know, and there's this dispute. Like Airbnb Resolution Center is huge. Like if you go to airbnb.com/resolutions, you'll see I have hundreds of refund requests and claims, and also guests doing damage. I'm having to tell them, hey, you have to pay for this. You broke this and that, you know. So, I say all of that as a disclaimer, but I still love the business. It's still a great way to come in and make money. And I could say, like, in general, expensive markets, you take San Francisco, New York, wherever the most expensive places are, expensive neighborhoods, usually your cash flow is lower and lower and lower. Just like cash flow for a long-term rental. Usually you go to a C- neighborhood, you cash flow better than you will in an A- neighborhood. It's just because those prices are, those exclusive properties are priced higher.
Got you.
You know?
So you're in multiple markets, right? What markets are you currently in right now?
So right now I either own or manage units in. So we have Maui, Oahu, right? So North Shore. So
Hawaii, bro?
Yeah. So shout out to our sub-2 family in Hawaii, right? We have California. So Hawaii, California, Arizona, Texas. You know, a handful in Texas. Georgia, Florida, we got one in North Carolina, we got one in Baltimore, Maryland.
You guys are all over the place.
Yeah.
Are you targeting like single family, multifamily, or like what type?
Well, I'm trying because I spread myself too thin, so I'm trying to I liked single family, but it feels like going into multifamily is more efficient. I can definitely see myself buying a hotel in the next year. Oh, nice. Just because I can get a lot of rooms under one roof, you know, because it's the management and it's the staff, it's the maintenance, it's the customer service, it's the sheets and the pillows and everything that's a nonstop necessity in short-term rentals. That makes it efficient to just go to a straight hotel.
And just to be clear, you guys are going after the ownership. You guys, it's not like arbitrage or anything.
I don't do so. I skipped this part of my story, but after I bought my first house, my first property, when I was doing a carpet cleaning business, I met a owner that I used to clean his carpets, and I said, hey, let me rent one of these apartments from you. And so I ended up renting 4 apartments and a house from him. So I was doing arbitrage. Okay. But I slowly started to wind those down.
What made you get out of the arbitrage and want to take ownership?
Well, because ownership, you get the benefits of ownership, obviously, like,
Right.
Mortgage pay down and appreciation over 30 years is yours.
Right.
These properties that I was, renting from him, they went up a few hundred thousand in value over the last 5-6 years. He gets that, and that's fine. And so I would still arbitrage in the right markets, but where I was in the East Bay, it didn't make sense. The margins were too slim anyway. So I wanted to get out of that market for different reasons anyway. So, and right now I can get creative deals, obviously shout out to Sub 2. I can buy creative deals. I just closed on a Sub 2 like 3 weeks ago, 5,000 to the seller.
Oh, wow.
I've gotten a Sub 2 deal 0 to the seller before. So I would rather do that than arbitrage.
So talk to me, man. How are we finding these deals? How are we finding these houses?
For me, it's all been through relationships with the wholesalers. Coming to events like these, meeting people, and letting them know where you want to buy houses, and doing what you're doing. For example, people know you, so you just say the word, and they'll start bringing you houses. For example, anybody. So you gotta like get out there and get people to know you, and then people will start. So like I've never been good at, and I probably shouldn't say this. It's like speaking negativity, but like I never closed any deals myself with any sellers, But I own 20-something within the partnership, 50 doors.
JV'd all your deals?
No, so I bought deals myself because I learned I learned how to buy deals from wholesalers.
Okay.
So I pay assignment fees and I buy them myself too. So,
okay, gotcha. You're talking about like as far as going direct to the seller.
Direct to seller.
You've never done that and
No.
you lose a deal.
Mm-mm. Now I have got a deal. I have like found a hot lead and brought in like the master Thai LG to help close it for me, and we partnered on deals,
I don't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're basically doing who, not how. You know what I mean? It's like you know what you want. You know what the end game is.
Yeah.
You're going and you're finding the people that are masters at finding the deals for you. You're just saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is where I want to buy, and they go source the deal for you. As long as the numbers make sense,
Right.
You're closing on it.
For example, Munif, when I hear Munif, like when I started hearing Munif talk to sellers, I was like, oh, I don't have no business talking. If he can talk like this, or to other wholesalers, like, yeah, I just bring him in.
But you utilize his skill set.
It's good working together.
Yeah, make money together, bro. That's one of the best ways. So, how many properties are you guys at right now?
I mean, so I have different parts. So I was even before Munif joined Sub 2, I started partnering with different Sub 2 students. Like there was like 5 people I did deals with. We owned together before Munif even joined. And then I was buying owner finance deals. I got 4 from one guy, a package of 4 properties and one. And then when me and Munif met, it was just December. I want to say December, 2021. We met at Triple Digit Flip Premier, and then we started buying properties. Yeah, we probably bought like 6 or 7 properties, and then we did this, and that includes a 5-unit, which we that was not creative. It was a cash deal that we got a hard money loan for, and we're rehabbing it, turning them into 5 Airbnbs, and then we're refinancing that out right now, and then we got a 20-unit in Pensacola. Which it's our first time doing a syndication. So we did, it's called a 506B, and then it's also a crowd fund. And so that one was big. Like we basically announced it and had all the investors we needed in one Zoom. Like, so that's why a lot of people don't know, because we don't talk about it, because we don't need no more investors, on that. But like, we got all the investors in one day that we needed for that deal. And, but we're finally through this legal process to where, our crowdfund is going to be done, which means, we're going to be able to raise $5 million, legally able to raise $5 million for future deals. So we'll be back at the drawing board. Like we might buy a hotel or more multifamily.
Yeah.
With
Is that the next move? Because I know you said you guys are kind of scaling back as the whole market shifted.
Yeah, I mean, so
multifamily next move for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so he has his other businesses that he does without me. Like lately, we haven't been actively buying any properties. We've been like ever since the market shifted, we both been back in our own offices, doing our own work. You know, we still own properties together, but we haven't been actively buying anything for the last several months.
Gotcha.
You know, like I bought some properties by myself. He's been doing deals by himself, you know, lately. But we're still working on this Pensacola deal. We like right now we have contractors over there finishing rehabbing. I mean, it's going to be a process. It's going to be like 6 to 9 more months before we have all 20 units done. And you know, but that's awesome. And so who knows? Like we're just taking a breather, and you know, we'll probably just do bigger moves next. Like instead of one house over here, one house over there, it'll be like, you know, it'll be multifamily. I'm pretty sure.
I'm noticing that usually when guys get started, you know, it's like one house here, one house there, and then once they get to like a certain number and they're like, you know, for instance, 30, 40, 50 properties, it's like, okay, what's the next level up move? And it seems like the common denominator always ends up being like multifamily, right?
I mean, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, one kind of real estate mentor I listened to once said he likes single family because you really the value is in the land, and I looked at that. That makes sense too. And you can sell single family homes to owner occupants. You can sell it when the market's high. You can't do that as much with multifamily. It's only investors who are buying it. Shrewd investors buying your multifamily. So when you want to exit, maybe single family would be better.
Yeah.
If you had 50 single family homes rather than a 50 unit building, but that's okay. You know, so it's a lot of ways to make money in this business. I would just as well buy a portfolio of 20, 30 houses.
Oh yeah.
I would do that too.
Which is the equivalent of buying a multifamily.
Right.
You're buying at scale.
It's even a little bit better because you can sell them off individually, you know. So, and people sell big portfolios of single family homes too. So
how is Airbnb performing in this current market? You know, ever since the market shifted, we've had wholesalers, investors just kind of fall off the map, right?
it's a roller coaster, and you know what? And I think it's a good thing. Just like how some wholesalers, some flippers are going to fall off and quit, some Airbnb operators are also going to quit. You know, but I'll be here for the long run. You know,
The ones that quit the Airbnb model, is it because they just weren't managing stuff the right way? Like, what's the reason why they're falling off?
They just jumped in too quick and probably didn't. You know, they haven't been through the ups and downs yet. So like I've had so many experiences. Like I've filed hundreds of claims with guess who do damage. I've had so many experiences with properties. Now I don't have experience doing everything. There's like Hung kills it with the luxury. I say my properties, my sweet spot is like $200,000 to $300,000 homes, basic traveling workers, stuff like that. Not like, you know, white glove. Like me, I've had more difficulties with the larger and larger properties. So that hasn't been my niche.
So you have a certain buy box, of houses. You said between 200,000 to 300,000.
Right, and you know, and I have some 400,000 or 500,000 also, which still make money. But like the best return on investment has seemed to be around that, $200,000, $300,000.
Is it safe to say like the middle class properties?
For sure, yeah, and even like you might have heard, you might not have, but like for example, Pacer Cody have said a few times how they were so surprised that these basic properties over here did so well compared to, you know, they thought their luxury property was going to kill it, but it wasn't what was expected, what they expected, you know, always.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting business model, man, because it's, you know, I giggled when you said you could literally like, you know, do Airbnb with a tent, but I've seen stuff like that, bro. I've seen people like doing like RVs,
right?
Treehouse, literally.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Now, and so you do have to like for example, like you might make a better return on a property in a bad neighborhood. Now, be clear that you have to be transparent in your listing description. Yeah. You have to say, you know, like I saw a woman write, this property is in a working class neighborhood. There's some homeless people, you know, down the street sometimes. So if you're not comfortable, please don't book this property. So as long as you're transparent, you're good. They can't say they want a refund because they don't like the neighborhood. But if they didn't know, it's people coming from other countries. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, I thought like I'm not comfortable here. Yeah. You know, and they're just steadily fighting tooth and nail. So as long as you're transparent, you're good. And as long as, you know, your properties are maintained properly, everything has to be in good working order,
So
obviously.
does Airbnb make you be transparent about the neighborhood as well? It's not just the property. Like you got to let people know if it's in a bad area.
Airbnb doesn't make you do anything, but you will be wise to, because you will have guests fighting you on like trying to get refunds all the time. And what happens is a lot of times, and a lot of guests just know this, they don't like the neighborhood, right? So, but they can't like profile based on the neighborhood. They have to find something to pick apart the property. Oh, like this is kind of broken here. It's a crack here. It's kind of dirty. It smells bad. Stuff that you can't really identify. And recently Airbnb is like just in the last few days they've started sending me messages like, oh, we need your evidence within 1 hour. Photos that the property was properly cleaned, or and we want timestamp photos, things like that. So they're really, they're really
Who have you
pushing.
noticed the Airbnb sides with the most? The owner?
Oh, I mean,
or
Airbnb
guests?
is known to side with guests. Yeah, they're known to side with guests. So it's so you have to be real vigilant, and it's like a lot of times you have to be real cutthroat. Like, yeah, I'm sorry you don't like the house, but we have no refunds.
Yeah.
You probably should have it's like if you rent, like they have hotels, motels in bad areas, right? In any city, any big city, right? So like if you rent a motel in a neighborhood you don't like, you don't get to say I want a refund. I don't like the neighborhood, right? That's
Take
you
the
chose
L.
that neighborhood,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But people will try to, and so it's a constant fight. So, but when you're upfront and transparent, like sometimes, like in Hawaii, we might rent some units that don't have beach views. We had to put it in the title: no beach views, no ocean view, because they start complaining. I thought it had an ocean view. Man, I'm paying this kind of money because people don't know the different pricing differences. Like people from a cheaper state, they think they paid a lot of money. Oh, this ain't nothing.
Right.
Your $500 a night, that gets you a closet in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You want a night, you want to walk out onto the sand, that's going to be a few thousand a night.
Right.
So.
Is there any competition to Airbnb right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying. These guys right here, Marriott just opened up. You can put your house on Marriott now, but they're really strict. Yeah, Marriott vacation rentals. So you got Booking.com. Booking.com is a bigger company than Airbnb, but they mainly deal with hotels. But I'm putting my properties on every platform I can, right? Booking.com, HomeAway, VRBO, Expedia Vacation Rentals.
Seeing VRBO, I've always wondered like how much competition is out there, because obviously the juggernaut, at least in my eyes, all I hear about is Airbnb.
It's number one, so it's like probably takes 85% of the business, So it's like if you have something you want to sell on an auction site, you go to eBay. There's no point in going to number 2 or 3. Right, go to the number 1 site. So Airbnb is number 1, but still, I need that extra 15%. I need that extra 5-10. When things get tight, you gotta. So now, because as I build my team, we have VAs and boots on the ground, whatever.
Yeah.
We're adding all platforms now.
Nice, dude. Yeah. So you've really like built and scaled your team out then.
But it's still a process, because it's like I add a few VAs and then I'm like a month later I'm like, damn, like I need a couple more. Like,
yeah.
So, I keep adding properties, and then it's like I'm trying to, find the right balance, But really what I failed to really put in place is a good like leadership. So I'm still like the backstop when they have tough questions, tough situations.
Yeah. I hear you, man. So for the individual that's watching this right now, bro, and they're like, man, I really want to get started in real estate. I'd love to get into Airbnb. What steps would you take to get started? Like, what type of skill sets do you need to be successful in what you do?
Well, I mean, so what comes to mind is a lot of times people come to events like these and they hear about the massive success. And they're like, how can I get from here to there? But usually you got to do some work somewhere. Yep. You got to get good at something.
Yeah.
Right? You got to get good at something. Like say you do a podcast for 1,000 episodes, then someone will just say, here, man, like I'm going to lend you $1 million for a deal. Like people, you build trust with people no matter what you're good at. Be good at something. So me, I was good at Airbnb, doing it myself. I talked to every guest. I talked to every cleaner. I talked to the maintenance man. I learned how to unclog bathtubs. Well, I started learning maintenance. I got good at all of it, and then slowly started to delegate. Slowly, so now my number one goal is get the hell out of this business myself. I'm trying to put other people in place so I can go. And then if I can get out of the day-to-day, then I can 10x the business with strategic partnerships.
You want to duplicate yourself.
Yes, and so I've been doing good. Like I've been duplicating the lower levels, but it's hard to get find out the right management level people, and so that's what people should do. Is like if you want to do Airbnb, get a property. Like how people say go out and make mistakes. Even if you bought a house for too much money, you still can learn all the same stuff. Yeah. Okay, you're going to make less profit, but you're going to learn, and the education is important. The cash flow is just to survive. The lessons are what it gets you all the way, though. So you can arbitrage, you can rent a property. A lot of deals I bought have been other people would consider them bad deals. Like my very first property I bought, my first mentor said, it's all right, it's not great. But I was like, damn it, I'm gonna make it work. Yeah. And then 5 years later, it went up $200,000 in value. I was able to take a HELOC from it to buy another property, things like that. So like a lot of times, if you can't find this great deal, I would say get a deal that's not as good, just so you can get your feet in the game,
So should they find a property anywhere, or just should they be looking in markets where Airbnb is going to be successful at?
So I started in my backyard, right, to get experience. So that's definitely, obviously, an advantage, but I was in an area that's not good. It's like becoming highly regulated. The prices weren't good. So eventually I said, I need to get the heck out of this market. Yeah. So I started, and managing remotely is very difficult. Right. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless you are a risk taker, because that is an opportunity. Yeah. You gotta go. I just made an Instagram post last week. Like, if you can't find, the right deals in your market, get in your car. Yeah. And go somewhere. So you got to find something to be good at, like whether it's cold calling, it could be repairs, but it needs to be something that'll lead you to money. So, so I don't think, for example, designing Airbnbs will get you to the jackpot, because you have to keep focused on your goal. So my goal has always been to own as much real estate as possible, because if you own real estate, you're building wealth over time. Your tenants or guests are paying down your mortgage. So even if you don't cash flow at all, if you broke even in 10 years, you're rich, if you own enough real estate, because you could sell it, But if you're just like designing Airbnb, if you're not getting ownership, then I would question what you're doing,
Got you. Yeah. Okay, cool, man. I want to ask you something. I ask every guest this on my podcast, bro. Content, right? You shoot content, right? Why is content so important?
Because your network is your net worth. So people get to know you. Like, it's scaling yourself. Yeah. It's like people get to know me and I don't even know it. I don't even know they're getting to know me through social media. Yeah. Right? And so that's it. It's just like I used to say, like, if you move to another city, another country, like, you'll probably find a girlfriend, right? Right. Or who, anybody would. It's someone special for you in every city. So, or if you went to school, you'll find a few friends. Maybe not everyone's your friend, but it'll be a couple friends. So, there's a certain percentage of the population who just like you. Right. So, through social media, that happens. More people get to know you. Not everyone's for everyone, but people will get to know you, and they might become your business partner. They might become your private money lender. They might send you leads, and all that happens with me all the time.
Yeah, man, I tell people, shoot content, document the process. Even if you're not trying to be a guru or influencer, show people what you want, show people what you do, because it's 2023, and you could just use your camera phone and post reels on social and just build your audience through that, or generate leads, dude. I mean, content's crucial, bro. Because
I'm an extrovert in a lot of situations, but I'm also quiet and I'm shy in a lot of situations. And I actually am uncomfortable posting all this content, but I do it anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm shy so that's why I pay someone to post my content, because I probably wouldn't do it. I can do it, but I do it because it's necessary. Because I really think that's one of the strategies to wealth. Some of the last pieces of real estate I bought, I haven't used any of my own money. Yeah. And that's the way that you can really scale, is if you're not being held up by your own money. Yeah. So And that's
While
through,
you posting, bro, is building credibility. I mean, I've seen you on the Zooms. I've seen you on lives. I see the content you post on socials. I mean, it's letting people know what you want, what you do. So it's important, bro. And I'm glad you're putting it out there. But listen, man, this was a dope episode. I appreciate you coming on here, giving game about what you do, and speaking about your background. I know you said you never spoke about it in public, but you're going to touch so many people that have been in a similar situation or the exact same situation that you were in. So thank you for sharing that information, bro. Guys, I hope you guys got a ton of value, ton of game from Noah. Noah, how can they get a hold of you, man?
right now, my Instagram is the best way. Send me a DM.
Okay.
It's Noah Hoffman Airbnb.
Got you. Noah Hoffman, Airbnb. Listen, guys, tune in with the man. He's killing the Airbnb game. I know for a fact he is. We're both in the same community. He is somebody you want to reach out to, want to talk to. Hope you guys got a lot of value. Please like, share, subscribe, comment your favorite part about this episode. And until next time, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.